Hey guys, so today on Sit and Chat, we're going to be talking about what our families thought about Jayden's transition in the first year.
All right, so first we're gonna talk about our dads, and then we'll go through each family member and talk about how they've reacted to my transition. So I told my dad by asking him to take me on a ride in his truck, and that I wanted to just talk to him about some stuff that was on my mind, and I was really, really nervous to tell him. But I told him, and he was a little surprised, but he wasn't really surprised. And he kind of just kept asking questions about, what that entailed as far as me medically transitioning, physically transitioning, what that was going to do, what I had to do to, have the looks that I wanted and just to become who I always felt like I was. And I told him everything, and he was just a little worried about, medically transitioning and what the hormones would do to my body, and if there were like any negative things that could come out of it. And I kind of just set him at ease and told him, just like everything, there are, some negatives, which I really haven't had any of. I think the major thing was like acne, which really wasn't even that bad until now. It just started like breaking out like on my shoulders and stuff, weird stuff. But besides that, like, I haven't had any type of negative response to the testosterone, which was my dad's biggest fear.
And he was more of trying to say, why did you have to do this and stuff, but it's more of a personal preference to trans people, of what they want to do. They don't have to medically transition, but this is something that he wanted to do. So it's different for each person, and I just don't think that his parents knew that, like,
Yeah,
all the decisions that you could make and all that stuff.
exactly. So how did your dad feel?
I told my dad not a while ago, but I told him a while after this all started.
Yeah.
Because my dad really wasn't that close with him like my mom is. But when I told him, he, I think he asked a few questions I don't really remember, and he's never like slipped up.
Never.
Never.
Like,
not
never.
once.
He's the only one that has never.
So he's took it good, and his girlfriend, she knows, and she's completely fine with it. They watch our YouTube videos, and so does my dad's roommate and stuff. So they're all really supportive in that way.
Yeah. So next brings us to my mom. That was the scariest one for me. My mom, if you haven't watched any of our past videos, my mom's very religious, and it was something I knew would be really, really hard to talk to her about. So I wrote her a letter, and I kind of just told her, hey, this is how I felt. I know how, we are, and we're not on the best terms, and I want to let you know, just because I'm your kid, and I want to let you know and let you in on my life, pretty much, and inform you of what's going to happen. I don't want to just show up one day and be like, hey, what's up, my name's Jayden. But I wanted to give her somewhat of a heads up. And so I wrote her that letter and kind of just explained everything that I planned on doing. And she wrote me a letter back, and it wasn't a good letter at all.
It's pretty much all the negatives.
All the negatives, and she was pretty much
in
saying,
religious way.
yeah, she's pretty much saying God made me a woman, I can never be a man, I couldn't reproduce as a man, all this stuff. And like, the thing that really made me bad about it was the fact that all she focused on was the negatives. Like, she even went and like did her own research of like the negative effects of testosterone, and like sent that to me. And I'm like, in my head, I'm just like, you don't think that I outweighed, the good and the bad, to see if this was something I really wanted to do, if medically transitioning was something that was in the cards for me? Like, of course, I'm a smart person. I looked at both the pros and the cons of everything that I do, and the pros definitely outweigh the cons. So it was something that I thought would be beneficial for me, and it really has been. So that was really tough.
Yeah, and I think it's more of like, obviously like that's her child and stuff, but you have to think like this whole past year, I mean, he's been transitioning for what, almost 2 years now?
Almost a year and a half.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
but yeah, so we're talking about the first year. So I think it was more of she wanted to make sure everything was okay, but at the same time she wasn't opening herself up enough to hear what he had to say, and that kind of made me mad because it's like, yes, that's your child, and yes, you want the best for them, but if you're not even going to hear them out and you have an opinion, that's not fair to them, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he listened to her and stuff and tried to give his opinion back, and she really wasn't taking that into consideration at all. And,
Like, never.
and that really hurt, so.
Yeah, that was, I think, the most depressing point of my transition was right at the beginning, telling everybody. So.
My mom, I wasn't scared to tell her.
I was. I don't know why.
He was scared, even though I was the one that told her. I texted her one day because he really, when we were first, when this first all started coming out, he was staying with us for a little while, and so we didn't really want to be around her when she found out because he didn't know how she would react or whatever. But so I texted her while we were at the mall one day, and her reply was, "Okay."
That was it.
That was it. And I think we talked about it once we came back a little bit, but now, or not now, but like a few months before they moved here, we talked about it a lot more. And then that's when she really started asking questions and stuff.
Yeah. Even still, she still doesn't ask that many questions. I mean, she's
But
asked
sometimes
me.
she does.
Sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes
she
she'll
goes,
like.
what bathrooms?
Yeah,
you use
I think
and stuff.
that's like the biggest question I've gotten is what bathroom I use. And I'm like, the guy's bathroom. She's like,
She's like,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's it.
But sometimes she does slip up, but she'll.
It's kind of funny.
I'll give her that look. I just go, and like she'll be like, oh, and then she'll like fix it right away. And it's funny because she knows and she tries, and it's not like she does it on purpose. It's just funny because that's how she knew him before, was as, you know, I'm not gonna say it, but whatever his name was before, that's how she knew him as. So she slips up sometimes, but it's so funny.
It really is. It is. Who should I talk about next? My brother?
Sure.
And my sister, you want to put them together?
Yeah.
Okay, so my brother is 5 years older than me, and my sister is 5 years younger than me. And my brother, I think that was the easiest person for me to talk to. But at the same time, he got some negative backlash from my parents, like, how can you accept this? And kind of putting him in a bad spot when he's just like, Jayden's always been my brother. Like, ever since we were younger, we've always had that connection as brothers, and anything he wanted to do, I was right there doing it with him. And like, even like going back to like childhood, like early childhood, 3 years old, I wanted all of his stuff. And it wasn't just, that younger sibling holding on to their older sibling, trying to be like them. I was his brother, and that's how I saw myself, and he didn't see me any differently. And so for him, it wasn't hard at all. We've talked about it recently too, and kind of had like a little heart to heart, and he was just like, it was easy for me to accept you that way because that's how I've pretty much always seen you. Your title might have changed from my sister to my brother, but I never saw you as my sister. So that was really, really good. My sister, when she first found out, again, my sister's the only one that lives with my parents now. So she kind of gets the short end of the stick when it comes to everything. Like, if me and my brother screw up somehow, my sister hears about it all the time. Like, oh, your brother, and then they still refer to me as her sister, and like, she doesn't like it, and
she feels awkward.
Yeah, she feels really awkward.
She doesn't know how to have her own opinion.
Not at all, because she doesn't want to upset my parents, which I can understand. And I try to like talk to her, and she kind of just, yeah, whatever. Like, and sometimes I'll find it where like, she didn't want to use a pronoun. Like, if she could have used a pronoun, she won't use one to avoid upsetting me and upsetting my parents.
Yeah,
so
she'll like skip over it.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But yeah.
Yeah.
My brother, we told him
the same day.
Yep.
As your mom.
Yeah. So when we first told him, he was a little younger than he is now. He was like 3 years younger, and he was just like, all right, whatever, like, I don't care, shut up, pretty much. So, but that day he did start saying he.
Yeah.
But then he'd say she too. So, and then he'd also skip over and try to not use pronouns, which was funny to me. I was just like,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, that was like the biggest thing I try to convey to everybody when I told them, like, hey, it took me some time to figure out who I am and accept myself for being who I am. I know it's going to take some time for everybody to get on board with pronouns and the name change and everything. So, like, I didn't expect everybody to just, flip like a light switch and, one day just completely change everything. But, like, as long as I seen a constant effort, that was all that really mattered. So, I mean, as long as they made that effort, like, that was it. That was what was really important to me. And so if people slip up, I haven't corrected them, and I feel like I need to. Yeah, I haven't yet.
I'm telling him that he needs to.
So
Because it's never going to change.
Yeah.
I mean, people will get too comfortable in saying it, and then they'll be like, well, why didn't you do it before, Like,
Exactly.
He just needs to do it before it gets, like, out of hand, and they just really don't want to change.
Yeah. And so that brings me to my aunt and my grandma on my mom's side. My grandma is very religious as well, but she was the real surprise for me. My grandma basically talked to me a few times, and she talked to my mom because, of course, my mom goes back to her and talks to her about everything. And she's just like, look, you pray for her and, you ask God to take care of her, whatever. And she said, you just need to give it up. That's it. Like, you've done all that you can. Just know that you raised her in the right way, and whatever she chooses to do, just know that, she's taking care of her. However she put it. She put it somewhere like that. And, but she still called me by my birth name. I was gonna say government name. That's not my government name either. By my birth name, but like she was just more accepting. It really hasn't hit her as far as like pronouns and stuff like that, but she definitely was open to everything.
But she has called you Jayden one time.
One time, it was a very big surprise, and I was like, did I hear that right? I thought I was just hearing things, but she did call me Jayden once, and she called me her grandson once. And then my aunt, same thing. My aunt is kind of more like Naisha's mom. She was really open. She was a little worried about the medical part of it and just making sure that I was being safe. That was her biggest thing, is, making sure that I knew exactly what I was doing and making sure that I was staying up with doctor appointments and things like that, making sure that I was being tracked and I wasn't just doing this alone. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the biggest things that she said to me, is like, I hope that you don't ever feel like you're alone, because you're not. Regardless of whatever you do, I'm here for you and I love you, and I want you to know that you're not alone.
Because that's very important.
Definitely.
Especially when you're transitioning, you need some type of support. Because
whether it's one person or a whole bunch of people,
it's difficult to just do it by yourself.
Exactly. So she's been really good, and like Naisha's mom, she makes mistakes sometimes, it's hilarious.
She's like, oh.
And I'm just like, it's okay.
Just take a second.
Exactly.
It's so funny.
But yeah, and then some of my other aunts on my dad's side and cousins, they all call me Jayden. They talk to their kids, and like their kids are old enough to have known who I was before, and they see me as Jayden, and they're all great about it. And that's one thing I absolutely love about kids, is that kids are just so innocent, and they can just adjust so quickly and not have any problems with it. So. Mm-hmm.
And I think some of my other extended family know, but I'm not sure. I'm sure they watch the videos. I mean, they follow me on social media and stuff, but it's never been like a topic of discussion, which, why would it be? It's not like...
Not really business.
Yeah, it's not a topic that needs to come up in a regular conversation.
Exactly.
But, yeah, so I think they know, but I'm not sure. Like I said, it doesn't come up like that.
Yeah.
But we're gonna be making another video, maybe in 6 months to a year, and check in and see how people have changed with the transition and how they're accepting it, and also probably do an update video on his 1 year, because it's been a year and a half.
Yeah.
So it'll probably be a year and a half update, just to get everything in there. That should be coming soon.
Yes, and I will say that as of to date, I have seen some improvement with some of my family, and so hopefully those things will continue to blossom and progress in the right direction over these next couple of months. So by the time I make that next video, I'll have some
A lot
really
to
good,
change, yeah.
really good things to say.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time.
See you.